Hey guys, it's Kevin. This is going to be another movie review for you guys. Now, this movie I'm going to be reviewing to you, um, came out on VOD as usual, because it seems like that's happening now with movies. Once a week a movie comes out on VOD, for a movie that came out, and this movie, I looked at the plot of it on Rotten Tomatoes, and it had like a really good cast, and I looked at the plot, and I was very intrigued by the plot of this movie, and I really wanted to watch it. And the movie we're going to be reviewing is All the Wilderness. Now, All the Wilderness was a movie that just the title alone intrigued me. I was like, All the Wilderness, that's really intriguing. The poster really intrigued me, and I was really looking forward to seeing how this movie was going to be. And overall, after watching All the Wilderness, what did I think of All the Wilderness? All the Wilderness, for the most part, is a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. It does have a few problems here and there, I think, but it doesn't really it's not a perfect movie. It's not a masterpiece. It's kind of forgettable, honestly. I do think that I'm going to forget about this movie at some points, but I do really want to talk about it because there are a lot of things I really enjoy about this movie. Let's get to the plot of All the Wilderness. Basically, the plot focuses on this boy James. He has just lost his father, and he is really struggling with grief, and it's really about a boy struggling with grief and sort of him trying to get himself out of this grief because his father always told him to explore the wilderness. And when his father dies, these are the words he keeps thinking of his father saying that to him. His father telling him to explore the wilderness, and you never know what's in the wilderness. He keeps thinking of his father telling him these things, and basically he decides that that's what he's going to do. He's going to explore the wilderness, and he ends up making a bunch of friends who might be able to sort of help him overcome his grief, and that's basically a plot of All the Wilderness. And I think it's a really good plot overall, and there are a lot of things that I really did like that this movie did that I definitely do want to talk about. Now, let's first talk about the acting to this movie. The acting, for the most part, everyone is giving an amazing performance here. Let's talk about the main actor here, Cody Smith McPhee. I've seen this kid do some really good stuff. I've seen him Paranorman, Let Me In. I've never really seen him give a bad performance, but this is by far his best performance as James. He is so good in this role because you feel for this kid. You feel his emotion. You feel what he's going through, the grief that he is going through. He really portrayed that very, very well. Just the idea of the grief he's going through. You see how close he was with his father, and you see how broken his life kind of is now. But one thing I like about his character is that he's not really a likable character, but that's also because he's kind of became kind of selfish because of what grief can do to you. And he perfectly portrayed what grief can do. Just the way just the way he reacted to things definitely showed that. And he has some scenes in the movie that are absolutely amazing. There's this one scene toward the end of the movie, amazing. Just he had this one emotional breakdown towards the end of the movie, and he is absolutely amazing in this scene. He was fantastic in this movie, and he really was perfectly casted. And I really want to see him do a lot more. It really makes me think that he is going to be. I think Smith McPhee, he's one to watch out for. I'm going to say that right now, guys. Cody Smith McPhee is one to watch out for. He's going to be doing some really good movies. I won't be surprised if he does a movie soon this year and it gets nominated for an Oscar next year. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Not this movie, but I could definitely see him doing another movie, and he gives a great performance too. So he did a really good job. Isabel Fuhrman plays Val. Now, I haven't seen Isabel Fuhrman in anything except for Orphan and the Hunger Games films. And she really has grown up since then. She's also hot, I must say. She is quite hot. But she plays the character of Val, and Val is sort of the one who wants to help out James. And one of my favorite parts of the movie is their conversations. They just felt so real to me. And the chemistry they have as friends it's really good in the movie. I think they really did a great job, and her character is really well fleshed out as well. Now you don't see now I could see someone saying that she doesn't have much of a story. Well, that's because you really think about this as just people that he is visiting in this movie. His life, it's really in his perspective, and I think the character of Val was a very good character. I definitely think she did a really good job in the movie. There's this one, her last scene with James is just fantastic, and I loved it, and I thought overall they both did a really good job. Also, I also want to say something also, James. They do this narration in the movie, and it really makes us care more about his character, and I think that was a really cool thing that they decided to do, especially All the Wilderness. But like there's a lot of narration. I think they did a really good job with that, and I definitely really enjoyed that. But as I said, Isabel Fuhrman as Val was really good as well. Virginia Madsen, though, as Abigail, gives just such a great performance here. this is a mother who wants to help her son and wants to do whatever she can to help him out. And one of the things I love about her character is just how much she wants to help him. She doesn't know what's going on with him. She knows that he's not going down a good path. But one of the things I liked about her character is that she's not someone who's going to blame herself for the death of her husband. She's not someone who's going to let her son get away with things. There are scenes where he is very rebellious and she yells at him, and I like that. I don't want her to be like, oh, I know your father died, so I know you're acting out. I like that she is just as, she just as mad at him as if his father wasn't dead. And I think she does a really good job in this movie, definitely. And I thought she had some really good scenes as well. The bonding between those two are some of the best scenes in the movie. Some of the best scenes in the movie involve their relationship and how the relationship changes throughout the movie. And I think their relationship as a whole was just so well done, and I thought she gave an amazing performance. Two other people I'm going to talk about. Evan Ross is Harmon. When he first came on the movie, I didn't really like his character, but I will say as the movie went on, the more the movie went on, the more I liked his character. He and James become very good friends, and he also is kind of helping James out with his grief, and he's making him, move on with grief. And I think he does a really good job with doing that, definitely. And there's some really great scenes with his character, and just the bonding between James and Harmon as well, I also thought was really good. And the last person I'm going to talk about is Danny DeVito as Dr. Pembry. Not really in the movie as much as you think. The poster of the movie makes you think he's in the movie a lot more. He's not really in it a lot, but he is a psychiatrist that that James is talking to help him overcome the death of his father. And I thought he did some really great scenes as well. Just the advice he gave him, I thought he was really, really good in the movie. Definitely really well casted. Let's get to the directing this movie. Now, something I don't think you guys know. By the way, guys, all in all the acting's really good. I recommend all the acting was fantastic. No one really gave a bad performance. The directing in this movie is once again a directorial debut, and I have to say the guy that directed this movie, his name is Michael Johnson, and this is a directorial debut, and he really does have a career. I really like the way he constructed this movie. I think he really had some great ideas with this movie, and he portrayed the idea of death and things like that really well, and how someone is struggling with grief and just what it can do to a person. Now, at times, this movie is kind of strange, I will admit that, and I think it can seem kind of off-putting for people. I don't think everyone's really going to love this movie. I don't think everyone's going to like it. I think there are going to be some people that don't like this movie because of how stylized it is and things like that, but me personally, what I thought of that as is just what he's thinking in his head. This movie, you have to get into his head and what he is thinking and the parallels he draws between the wilderness and things like that. It's really interesting the way they did that. The way the narrating was also, it made us care more about his character. I also forgot to say, guys, this is a very intimate movie. It definitely feels very intimate. It feels very small, and I love that about the movie. I think just really, really great. I love that about the movie. And he did a great job directing this. He also wrote the screenplay, and I have to say, the screenplay at times does not feel like acting. There are conversations that James has with people, and they just feel like normal, average conversations. Especially the conversations between James and Val. A lot of their scenes, especially their scenes, felt very real and just felt like conversations that kids would have. And I really love that about the movie. I think he did a really good job with the screenplay, and that was probably one of my favorite parts of this movie was the screenplay. I absolutely loved the screenplay of this movie. I think the screenplay was really good. It kept you invested in the movie, and I think the screenplay overall was just really, really good. I definitely really enjoyed the screenplay. As I said, the parallels to death and things like that was very well, done, and I thought overall they did a really good job with that. So the writing, again, Michael Johnson, really solid. He really does have a career. And the next thing I'm going to talk about, the one thing that I was worried about this movie is the editing to this movie. Now, this movie is unusually short, guys. When I say unusually short, I mean unusually short. This movie is unusually short. It is 76 minutes. Without credits, it is 70 minutes. And I know, I was shocked too, but I have to say, yeah, I was worried that I was going to say that the movie is too short and we don't get enough time with certain characters. But I must say, they used this 76 minutes to their advantage because they developed the characters well. The movie was not slow at any point, and I definitely really enjoyed that. I think it had to be 76 minutes. A story like this, you cannot tell in like 2 hours. This cannot be a 2 hour movie. And one of the things I like about Michael Johnson is that he knows that he doesn't want movies to drag on, so he cut it short, and that's fine. I feel like this movie is gonna get it like maybe like an extended cut or something. I kind of feel like it's gonna be one of those movies where when it comes out, it gets an extended cut just because of how short it is. it really does work with the movie, though. It's very condensed, it's very short, and it just worked. I think you just got it seems like it's not going to work, but it works really well. And I think the way they did it, I definitely enjoyed. I didn't really have too much of a problem with that. Although I will say that if the movie was any longer, I would have gotten bored because there are some points in the movie where there are some conversations that just go on a little bit too long that I didn't really care about, and that's really it. Um, and the way the movie ended, I have to say as well, I definitely really like because the movie ends with a sense of hope, and that's one of the things I really love about this movie is that it provides a message of just because you're going through grief doesn't mean it's gonna kill, doesn't mean it's gonna ruin your life, doesn't mean it's gonna ruin who you are. It's gonna, just because you're going through that, you can overcome it. And I think the ending of the movie is really trying to show that you can overcome grief, and that just because you're going through grief, you can overcome it. And I think the last monologue in this movie is actually a very well done monologue that I think was handled really, really well. And just, I really love the final monologue to this movie. I think it was one of the best parts of the movie by far was the final monologue. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed All the Wilderness. Definitely 4 out of 5 or B. Definitely 4 out of 5 B plus. Definitely really. Oh, I forgot to talk about the visuals to this movie. Cinematography. How do I forget the cinematography to this movie? I don't know what I'm. How do I forget about the cinematography? Cinematography is gorgeous to this movie. Scenes that take place in the wilderness are absolutely beautiful. The scenes where he is thinking about the wilderness and he's fantasizing in his head are so well done, and just I really enjoyed that as well. Also, I forgot to say, this movie, while it is very raw, at times it's also very funny and clever, which I liked as well, because it's showing that he can have happy times in his life. And I think that's really what it was trying to show, is that he doesn't just have sadness and darkness in his life. It shows that while there is that sadness and darkness, there is still happiness where all that is. And I think the movie portrayed that really well as well. And I definitely really enjoyed that. But that's basically my review of All the Wilderness. Let me know what you guys think of this movie if you have seen it. I honestly would recommend it. I am going to say that I'm probably going to forget about it. I'm going to forget that I watched it. It's nothing that memorable, but it has a lot of things that I'm definitely going to remember about it. It's nothing I'd really watch again, but I still really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think it was a really good movie, and definitely I recommend it. So that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for another movie review. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.